How's it going, everybody? Gunnar here, and today I'm going to introduce to you guys the Chosen One material kits. So this is something I wanted to do for a long time, and basically it's been a process because it's not as simple, to me at least. It's not as simple as just coming up with a fly, selling the materials. But I really wanted to design something that I believed in wholeheartedly, and not just design the fly, but design the kit as well. So I want to kind of explain how the kit's supposed to function. I want to go over the fly. This here's a bare bones version of the Chosen One. I want to go over some extra things that are going to take you a long way into this design, being the silicone, and then some tying resources that I have down here. You're also going to see I tried to invest in some better lighting for you guys. We're running 2 cameras here so that you guys can see what my hands are doing and how I'm manipulating things and how it's getting applied on the fly. Because I really want this to translate to the best of my ability. So before we jump into the fly here, I want to kind of go over how the kits are designed. And there's 3 overarching categories, if you will. But the first is accessories. The second is hardware. The third is your color combo. And the whole point is, like, when you look at your accessories, I'm talking about things like dubbing wax, super glue. You're going to have a marker in that kit so you can counter shade and tone the flies, right? You're going to have something like lead wire so that you can weight it if you're a floating line fisherman. But also, when we go to the silicone, so that you can add momentum and balance the fly with trapped air. It's the coolest thing. We'll get to that. But the second thing is hardware, right? And the thing about hardware that I think is extremely important is it transcends your color combo. And if I were to make you buy the hardware every time you bought a new color, man, that you'd probably get frustrated, right? Because it's just more than you need. So for hardware, we're going into 2 different hooks. And I really want to emphasize the dropper jig system because I'm falling in love with it. So there's 2 hooks, one for hook down, one for hook up. So you're going to get both your approaches kind of covered with that aspect, as far as a high water column fly that you can actively work and a low water column fly that you can dredge and throw into cover. But I'm going to throw in about 10 feet of 40-pound mono for the dropper jig system. You're going to get 2 packs of tungsten beads. It's just so that you have enough to use all the hooks, and you can use 2 beads on a hook, and 2 beads is like the perfect amount of weight, and I'll show you the distance that I like to use on that. And then you're going to have 2 other materials. You're going to have your eyes in 2 different sizes. One is for kind of a round bulky head. I'm going to use the small size, and then the high and tight jerk head, we're going to use the larger sizes. And then peacock girl, because this to me transcends every color combo. It's just, I don't care if it's fire tiger, black, white, it doesn't matter. I put this ISD over wing on every color combo, and it's a large pack. And I'm using like 15 or 20 strands. Like, I'm using it as a wing, not just an accent. And so that's kind of like your hardware. That is the stuff that you'll use on every fly, regardless of color combo. And what's cool to me is that means the color combos are quite simple. Like, it's just strung fuzzy fiber, squimpish hair, and wing and flash. That's it. So what's cool is because they're all separated, all the categories are separated. Like, if you have the accessories, well, you don't need to buy the accessories. If you want to invest in the hardware so that we're using the same hooks and the same dropper jig and the same eyes and all that stuff, you can buy that and then pick out 2 or 3 different color combos, and you're not having to buy all of that multiple times, if that makes sense. And if I come in and stock a custom color like the tannic color fly from the tube jig video, right? You can come in and just buy the color combo, and then you're like, oh, well, I misplaced my dubbing wax and my super glue, so I'll get an accessory kit. And you can mix and match so that you're not locked into buying this kind of big kit. But I wanted to create a big kit if you were to get to all 3, because this fly is truly exceptional in its ability to take on many, many, many forms. So let's talk about the fly real quick. This is a bare bones Chosen One. And you guys already know it's just squimpish, wing and flash, peacock, strung fuzzy fiber. And in fact, it's truly just a tail stack, a collar stack, a wing and a head. And if those terms sound familiar, it's because I used them in the video from Tie Like a Pro, episode 5. It's called the Infinite Fly Principle. And the whole point is that heads, to me, are truly interchangeable. And when you look at that tail, that collar, that wing, that to me is kind of like what exists in every fly. And what I manipulate to get different silhouettes, different actions, is that head. And so this head can be tied round and bulky. This head can be tied high and tight, which you simply do the round and bulky and then you cut it and you put eyes on top. And I can create a jerk junior variation. I can have a fuzz junior variation. I can palmer this head over lead eyes, right? Which most of you guys probably already have, which is kind of why I didn't include it, but you can also weight the fly with lead wire. And then you have a slow jig clouser variation, right? And then you can take those three things and I can put them on the jig hook and have a hookup presentation with the dropper jig. And then I can take those 6 things and I can add a silicone clear coat over all of them. Now this does some really cool things. First and foremost, it removes all of the friction from the head. Instead of having 500 pieces of strung fuzzy fiber, I just have a solid silhouette. And what happens is the fly becomes slippery. Now you'll see every fiber on this fly, besides the strung fuzzy fiber, which gets coated, is a straight fiber, meaning water just flows over it. There's no crinkle, so there's very low water drag. Now when you add a little bit of lead wire to the shank, which is where that comes in, you can create a fly that really moves and juts and turns. And that's why in that tube jig video I'm like, this thing swims like a tube jig. I don't know if you've ever flicked a tube jig, but man, that thing pops up and glides and twerks. And it's because it doesn't have any friction and it has all that mass and momentum. And we're able to utilize that same kind of ideology on this fly, removing all the friction, adding weight, having low drag materials and a perfect bait fish silhouette, and getting that thing to twerk and jerk and swim like crazy. It's the coolest thing. Now what the silicone does besides removing friction is you can use it, and it depends on how much room you use for your head. I can use half the shank and trap a lot of air, or I can use a third of the shank and trap less air. And that depends on the kind of line style that you want to fish and how much buoyancy you want. But it physically creates an air pocket. If you can imagine I clear coat this fly, well, inside that clear coat there's going to be a smaller version of that that's actually going to be a cavity. And that cavity, every time you cast, it jettisons everything out and it's all filled in and replaced by air, and it hits the water and that air pocket will stay in there. I don't know if you've ever got a fly wet and you can see the little trapped air pockets behind materials, but that air pocket will stay there. And what's cool is it adds buoyancy perfectly right at the head, counterbalancing the lead wire that you put on 5 or 6 or 8 turns, or how much you want, right? And so I can create a fly that not only is going to run forward, but it's going to suspend when it does. And that to me is the coolest thing. So that's the beauty of the silicone. Now the silicone, here's the catch, it's not a part of the kits. I couldn't get this from a wholesaler or something and resell it to you guys. So what you have is a link. And it's a link to an Amazon page that I created. And to be honest with you guys, I think it's a little bit silly and a little bit lame, but I created an Amazon page that you can go and you can find this silicone. I have it all linked. You just click it, it takes you right to it. You add it to your card. If you got Amazon Prime, it ships right to you, no big deal. And what I think is cool about that is that link is also going to have my 2 favorite resources, Pop Flies and Fly Design, both by Bob Popovics. And the reason why that's relevant is because Pop Flies, which is Popovic's first book, it deals with silicone. And the silicone technique is a Bob Popovic's technique. And if you were to buy this resource with your silicone, and I'll even throw in, you don't need this, and I'm going to show you how to tie all the flies without this, but this is extremely helpful, and it's also on the Amazon link, but it's called Kodak Professional Photo Flow 200 Solutions. And what this is it wets your fingers, so the silicone doesn't stick to your fingers when you're applying it. Anyway, I digress. But Pop Flies has probably 30 pages of technique and recipes, all using Bob Popovic's silicone technique, and that's what we're borrowing from Popovic's right here. Is really this head shake and the head shape and the silicone application to this fly, and this will take you light years ahead of just watching me struggle to articulate this stuff to you guys. So check that out. Again, this is not included, and part of the reason why is because you don't need it. But it is so wicked cool, and it takes you from 6 patterns to basically 12 patterns. And on top of that, there's the bonus, because with this exact material kit you can tie a pop lip, which is a crankbait style, a lipped style fly, and it's unbelievable. It's so fun to fish. So that's the material kit, that's the chosen one, that's how it's designed to be used. I really hope that you guys are excited to try it out, to tie with me this winter. There's going to be quite a few tutorials. We're going to do obviously kind of the bare bones first, jump into the silicone ones, and whenever there's a new color combo, whenever I can facilitate that, you know, you don't need to rebuy everything. You can just jump online, grab the new color combo, and keep tying. If you need to replace the hardware kit, jump on, buy another hardware kit, add another color combo, things like that. I really wanted to create a platform that you could express yourself with. And the cool thing about, I'll talk about the squimpish right here at the end so that I can save some time in the videos. So squimpish hair is something you're not going to be able to find in basically any fly shop, but it's a custom material that's offered by Squimpish Flies. And if you can imagine craft fur, but slightly stiffer, and it's woven on a mat like craft fur. It has hundreds of different lengths like craft fur. It's pre-tapered like craft fur. It has under hair like craft fur, but it's 5, 6, 7, 8 inches long. And the beauty of that is with this 1/0 hook and the 2/0 jig hook, I can tie a 3-inch fly, and everything is pretty proportional. But I can tie a 4-inch fly, everything is like perfect, and I can even tie a 5-inch fly, all with the same material. You can even go 6 and 7. I have pictures I'll share with you guys right now. But you can tie with this exact kit 8-inch flies, 7-inch flies, big saltwater patterns, things that imitate mullet, right? You can tie this without changing anything. Everything's the same. And I'll show you the technique, but you just hollow tie it to build bulk. And that's the beauty of having a slightly stiffer material than craft furs. I can actually add volume through how I manipulate it. Craft fur is lively, but it's also limp, and so it's really hard to get truly bulk. But with this squimpish hair, I can construct a perfectly silhouetted fly. It's limp enough that it has excellent movement. It's limp enough that I can really integrate it into dubbing loops and hollow tie it. It's stiff enough I can build bulk, and it's long enough that for short flies you can just stack it, which I'll show you how to do, but for long flies you can truly use the taper and build a 5, 6-inch fly for pike. But you have this version for smallmouth, and it's all about not necessarily a pike fly and a smallmouth fly or a trout fly, but imitating that forage and imitating that size and having bigger flies in the fall and smaller flies in the spring, all with the same kit. And I think that's really cool. So that's just a little add-on there at the end. But thanks for watching this, you guys, if you made it to the end. Check out the material kits on the website. Follow along, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see all the tutorials. It's gonna be plentiful because I want to nail it. I want you guys to have all the camera angles, all the information, all the techniques, so that next year when you guys are fishing, man, you got a box full of flies that are just going to hunt. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and take care.